Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman here. We're coming to you from our studios at the Capital Region International Airport. We're going to stay in town, actually. Mikhail Murshak is a senior attorney with Foster Swift in Lansing, one of their 5 offices around the state of Michigan. And we've been talking about intellectual property and how to protect that. And Mikhail, you covered a lot of ground last time, but we insisted to have you back because there's a lot more we can talk about. So welcome back to the show. Listen, for businesses considering international expansion, what roles do patents, trademarks, and trade secrets play in that?
Well, they play a significant role for obvious reasons, especially if you're moving into Southeast Asia. Europe is its own problem. Primarily is that there's a mix of EU, but also independent states that may have specific rules about manufacturing or materials, depending on what area you happen to be in. And then in terms of Asia, which China's obviously the elephant in the room, right? They're the second biggest player in the international market. If you don't have an effective IP ownership strategy in China, if you don't have boots on the ground there, if you don't have a law firm in China that you trust, obviously an American lawyer is not licensed most of the time to practice law in China. So just like if you're a Michigan lawyer, you're not necessarily licensed to practice in Illinois. So a patent or a trademark in the United States doesn't mean you own anything in China. And we've had several situations where a manufacturer or a manufacturer's cousin of the owner of the manufacturer went and filed for trademarks in China to restrict or hold hostage an American producer trying to import products into the United States. And so if you don't have your ducks in a row in the most effective way, and a U.S. patent attorney and trademark lawyer can help you navigate that process, they will usually have relationships with Chinese or European law firms and even South American law firms that can help navigate that process. And a lot of times it's easy to do, so it is somewhat low-hanging fruit, and you avoid a lot of problems in the future. Kind of like doing Tai Chi or yoga to help, 70-year-old version of yourself feel better when they are 70. You do that now and take care of it. So a little ounce of preventative medicine in the world of intellectual property can make a huge difference, especially if you plan to manufacture in China, now Vietnam, parts of Korea, Taiwan, etc.
So, listen, given your dual role as a practicing attorney, but also an adjunct professor who's teaching patent and trademark law, what advice would you give to business leaders?
What I would give to business leaders, and obviously it depends on if you're a large Fortune 50 company or if you're a startup with just seeking out seed funding, is to at least spend some time evaluating your existing intellectual property portfolio. Do some research on the internet or use an AI tool to help you understand the difference between patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. Trade secrets are often overlooked, and it's important that anything that you believe should be kept secret is treated that way. So you don't keep it on the open drive, you don't tell everybody at the company about it. But on top of that, as you start saying like, oh, we need to bring on an engineer, and we need to bring in a marketing person, and we got to bring in a CTO, and we got to bring in a a CFO, that all those people are subject to confidentiality clauses in their agreements, and you have that vetted. And it may be expensive to hire a lawyer to have them work that stuff out for you, but it's going to prevent you a lot of costs in the long run from losing rights you didn't want to lose as you continue to grow.
So, Mikhail, one of the things as a guy who's done international business for a number of years was how do I find that attorney in China? And I would suggest probably Foster Swift has relations there, so they could.
Yeah, and it's going to be specific. So the bigger intellectual property firm you use that has relationships with international law firms already. So if you work with if you're a law firm that works with any multinational clients, like any of the automotive companies, for example, they're all going to already have established relationships with certain firms that they have a preference for in Asia. They've met them at international conferences and so on. And there's another way to do it if you're in the United States and you haven't established those relationships. There's third-party vendors that are like a middleman that you send them one application, say, I need to have this filed in Mexico and China, and then they pick the firms for you there. And vice versa, there's like a reciprocity. So after we file, let's say, 5 applications or 7 applications through the middleman, they will send us one that's coming to the United States from one of those law firms.
All right, so we got about a minute left here, heading into 2026. What should those with IP be sure to do to kind of, I guess, ward off any problems?
So I think like almost like an IP checkup, like a medical checkup. Let's see, number one is your branding and the ownership and position that you want it to be in. To make sure especially if you're going to launch a product with a new name, that you have clearance through the trademark office, at least in the United States. And if you have a vision to go international, then at least talk to somebody about what your plan is going forward and what are the potential risks. What are questions to ask that you don't even know to ask in the first place?
There you go. Okay,
Yeah,
get professional help. That's my advice to everybody because that's what
exactly.
I did. Yeah. All right, Mikhail Murshak, thanks so much. Senior attorney with Foster Swift, Lansing office, but 5 offices throughout the state for Foster Swift. You can get help anywhere. You're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman.